Hey, phase 2, you ready? I am. Let's get it. Okay, so you've got yourself in reality. You've got an outline of who you are right now. Now we have to do what JP recommends, which is articulate our highest aim.
When you're torturing yourself with your conscience because you're not doing what you should be and you know it, what is it that you're torturing yourself in relationship to? You have a vision of your own ideal and you torment yourself if you're not matching it. What's the ideal? Well, you don't know, right? It's kind of incoherent and poorly articulated, but that doesn't mean it isn't trying to manifest itself and make itself known to you.
So, you know the drill. Sit that sweet tush down and sketch up a rough draft, a silhouette of a life that you'd seriously enjoy living. Let this outline be level 100, the top of the top, everything you could hope for. And that's not just big bags of cash and a boat and a mansion. We're talking, who do you want to be? How do you want to act? What do you want to be doing? And I get that that's easier said than done, I know. But what helped me in this endeavor was watching myself as I watched the things that I enjoyed. I went about my viewing habits as usual, but this time around, I paid attention to my physiological responses and I picked up on this strange recurring feeling of tension, a feeling of exhilaration mixed with resentment.
Curious. Very curious.
Whenever I saw someone doing something worthwhile, I was flooded by this wave of excitement for the possibility of what my life could look like and that somebody was out there doing it.
Whoa.
And then I'd get pissed off and resentful because I wasn't doing it. And so this wide-eyed clenching of my fists, this joyous fury, was how I knew that there was something unexplored within me. Some aspect to a life that I wanted that I didn't understand yet. So I'll say keep an eye out for that excited envy or any other physiological responses you might have. Because in my experience, those feelings act as indicators of buried treasure. And that treasure usually only takes minimal effort to salvage. It's just a matter of sitting with it and asking some questions. Questions like, why am I pissed off? Why am I excited? What is it about that person that makes me want what they have? And those are simple and direct questions. And if those work, if simple and direct works, ask yourself straight up, who am I trying to be when that front goes up? What characters, authors, entrepreneurs, performers, artists, mythical heroes am I impersonating to uphold this BS version of myself? What attributes and experiences, what lifestyles do they have that I want?
What do you want? What do you want?
It's not that simple.
What do you want?
And even after just a little digging, I encountered an entirely different obstacle, which was that I had too many aims. Too many paths I wished I could be walking. Over the years of being obsessed with people who were passionate, I'd accrued a collection of lives I'd love to be living. I imagine this collection like a revolving carousel of possibilities, and each day that carousel would spin and serve up a possibility of what my life could look like. Like a toddler, I look up at that shiny possibility and say, I want that. But every day the shiny thing would change, the carousel would rotate and serve up a totally different aim. So any step I'd taken on the path I'd set the day before was now a step in the wrong direction. And when every step you take is a step in the wrong direction, it's a lot easier to just stand still. But if the gray space has taught us anything, it's that standing still isn't standing still. No, the world keeps moving, it just leaves you behind. Stagnation doesn't lock you in place, it takes you down. So what helped me move forward from this choice paralysis was cherry-picking one aspect from each of those aims. I'd take a characteristic, a habit, a routine, a quality, a belief, a value from each of those people that I looked up to. Seriously, it was that easy. I'd just watch a TED Talk and take Jocko's stance on ownership. I'd finish McEwen's book and adopt his intention with essentialism. Or I'd steal Potter's point of view on rule breaking. Anime and YouTube brought me the value of honesty and perseverance, and a whole bunch of bald dudes revealed to me the possibility inherent in perspective. But the focal point of my highest aim was an ideal I'd held for a long time, that oddly enough was embodied by this goofball. His name's Peiko, and I'll go into more detail about him in another video, but the reason he became the core of my highest aim was because he echoed this belief that the climb could be enjoyable. That the grind, the work, the hustle, all of it didn't have to be some miserable slog. But instead, it could be enjoyed one way or another. And I knew that if I was gonna do this, if I was gonna climb out of this darkness, it had to be playful. So I took Peiko and I put him at the top. And I started to see this outline come together. And so as you start to see this in your own life, I wanna put out a couple things. I wanna toss out a couple little bits of goodness just to maybe help you along the process. And the first is that this list is probably gonna be stupid long and always changing. So don't worry about getting it perfect right now, just get it down. The second is that we're not trying to make any of these attributes a reality. We're not even close to that. Going for level 100 right off the bat is just stupid and hard and not worth it. You're just gonna wear yourself out. So don't bother. The whole point of this is consolidation. So that instead of looking up at 100 shiny possibilities and cycling through them day after day, you can look up and point at just one.
I found it, Mayor. The perfect place. Right up there.
The third thing is that you probably think you need some incredible, earth-shattering, movement-making reason why. Like a mission statement or something to prove that this is worthwhile. But the truth is, you might not have any other reason than, I just want to suffer less. And for right now, that's good enough. So let that be your why. And the final little bit, the last bit I'll say here is that you can't use rock bottom as an excuse. And I say that because I tried to. I tried to tell myself, oh, it's not that bad, I'll make a change later, I'll get to it, I'll know when I hit rock bottom, and then I'll turn things around. Get rid of that shit altogether. We're not playing with rock bottom, we're not playing with epiphanies, we're playing with action.
We gotta get out of this town!
Yeah, and go where? Where are we gonna go?
I'll tell you where. Someplace warm. A place where the beer flows like wine. Where beautiful women instinctively flock like the salmon of Capistrano. I'm talking about a little place called Aspen.
All right, bingo bango, there you go. You got your highest aim, at least for now. So the next step is scaling it down. Because level 100 is fantastic and awesome, but it might as well be in outer space. What we want next is level 10. Something within reach, something we can shoot at and maybe even hit. The base model, take away all the bells and whistles. So if your highest aim is the Mona Lisa, we want 2 ovals. So when I got after this, when I stripped away all the shimmy sham of my highest aim, I saw that at the base, every one of those people I looked up to were all physically capable of doing the thing they were put on this earth to do. So level 10 called out to me and said, even if you don't know what it is, be ready for it. Which meant regulating my sleep, managing my diet, orchestrating my habits and routines, reining in my addictions, you know, not drinking a beer at 4 p.m. when I started my day at 2 p.m. That kind of shit. And once I had that outline of level 10, what I did was I took the outline of my reality, of who I am right now, and I laid it on top of level 10, and then I took both of them and metaphorically held them up to the light so that I could see all the ways that I was out of line with the person I wanted to be. And if this bit pisses you off, trust me, you're not alone. This really got to me because what I'd just done was define my parameters for failure. I just articulated what it meant to be who I wanted to be and then revealed to myself exactly where I'm failing to be that person in every way.
I was never more certain of how far away I was from my goal than when I was standing right beside it.
And once I calmed down a little bit, and I took another look at these outlines, I saw that there was no clear singular moment where my whole day went off course, but instead a ton of these tiny micro decisions. A ton of these almost imperceptible moments where I'd think about what I could be doing. I'd weigh my options and choose to stay in line or stray off course. I like to imagine it like this Mario Party minigame called Crazy Cutters, where you ride a jackhammer around an outline, and the better you trace the outline, the higher percentage you get. Higher percentage, the better score, you get the idea. But what I realized is that in our lives, instead of tracing a Goomba, we're tracing that outline of the life we'd like to be living. And in this minigame that is our day today, right now, we have a fresh board, a fresh opportunity to carve out the day we want, to carve out the version of ourselves we want. And just like that outline, if you look closely At each strike of that jackhammer, you'll notice that moment of deliberation I'm talking about, where our brain tosses up a question like, hey, maybe change it up. You've laid in bed literally all day. Maybe do something healthy. And it's in this brief window of time just before the jackhammer strikes, just before we make our choice, that we're weighing the options. And in this moment, we can actually begin to influence the outcome of the decision. We can tip the scales in the favor of who we want to be. And it might sound simple, but I think these options are just binary. I think it's option A, do the thing that's out of line with who I want to be. Say, stay in bed and let Netflix loop me into the next season of Parks and Rec.
I shouldn't.
Do it. Or option B, do the thing that's in line with who I want to be.
But it's hard.
Perhaps level 10. Try to reform all of my habits and get my physical world in order.
Exercise. Jumping jacks, hit them. 1, 2.
The peculiar thing is,
3.
I noticed that I'd assign adjectives, and I think you do too, to each of those options. I'd say that option A is unhealthy and easy. It's the expedient option.
Hey, Planty, what do you want to do this morning? Watch TV? Me too.
And option B is usually healthy and hard, and that's the meaningful option. That's pretty obvious, I know, but for some reason I figured in those adjectives were the tools I needed to actually change my behavior. And with the help of some smart people, I realized that if I swapped out option B, something that was healthy and hard, for something that's healthy and easy, I might actually do it. Like if it were a choice between option A, unhealthy and easy, and option B, healthy and easier, I might actually do the healthy thing. And for that, level 10 just wouldn't cut it. I had to strip it down further. We have to go even smaller. We have to find level 0.
Oh, no, there is no such thing as level 0.
So our next step is articulating level 0. Reducing level 10 to the smallest, easiest possible step you can take today. And by no means is this my idea. This didn't come from me. This is BJ Fogg. This is Tim Ferriss. This is Charles Duhigg and Lamont. All of these guys showed me what was possible, but only in playing around with these ideas did it actually begin to sink in. And I'll say one thing to remember when it comes to level 0 is that it can't just be something easy. It has to be something easier than the expedient option. Level 0 has to be something not only that you're wildly capable of doing, but something so easy that you feel foolish not doing it. And if you have an excuse, if you have a reason not to do it, it's not level 0. So to find your level 0, I think it helps to go back to those outlines and just ask, what's my percentage? In this mini game today, in tracing the outline of who I am right now, what's my percentage? What was it yesterday? What has it been this past week? And then listen and collect the data. Start to track who you've been. Because as you gather this data, countless areas of your life will reveal themselves as in need of straightening up. And in these segments of your outline that need attention, there'll be little subgroupings, little pockets of actions and habits that you'll want to reshape. And when it comes to these, a majority of them you'll have no clue what to do with. Others you'll despise the idea of trying to retool in any capacity. But if we put those aside, there'll be a few that you could do. Some that if you made them your solitary aim, you would do. That's level 0. And I remember when I ran through this for the first time, I had written that I thought I was 2% in line with the person I wanted to be.
2.
That's easy. 200 is twice 100.
Not 200, just 2.
But now as I check my math, that wasn't 2% of my ideal aim. That was 2% of my base model of level 10. 2% of 10%, which if Google isn't lying to me about how to find the percentage of a percentage, that means I was 0.002% in line with the person I wanted to be. And I can laugh about that now, but looking back, I remember how heartbreaking and insane that was. So I understand how this insanity, this percentage, can make you feel super far behind, which oftentimes stirs up this desire to take radical action, to shoot for level 100 from a standstill. But I'd caution you against that because, well, I mean, just think about it. When has going after the boss fight without any of the training ever worked out? Anytime I'd experience one of these false starts, all it did was put me further back because it just reinforced the idea that I wasn't gifted with that Brennan family work ethic. So we're gonna avoid this path altogether and instead focus in on influencing this moment of deliberation. Focus in on level 0. You want to know what my level 0 is, don't you? I know you do. I'll tell you. So for me, I had to lower my standards so much so that my goal for the day was to get out of bed and brush my teeth at some point throughout the day. Didn't have to be first thing, didn't have to be last thing. I just had to leave the California King and clean the chompers for 30 seconds. And then the day was a victory. I could go right back to bed if I wanted, but the important thing was I felt complete after that. I felt like I checked the box that I'd drawn for myself, not the box somebody else drew for me.
How did I do? There is now a level 0.
And I know this small act might seem insignificant, but when it felt like I'd spent my entire life checking boxes for someone else, brushing my teeth wasn't just brushing my teeth. That tiny act is somehow everything I envisioned for my life crammed into 30 seconds. And it didn't feel like that while I was in it. I mean, it's brushing my teeth. It took me 5 months to even realize I was choosing to do this of my own free will. But I won't forget the chilly morning when that realization hit. So trust that this tiny act is your new option B. It's the healthy and easy thing that you'll use to swap out for that healthy and hard thing. So that when your brain tosses up a moment of deliberation, it's no longer a choice between Parks and Rec and reform all of my habits. It's a choice between Parks and Rec and brush my teeth. And that's perfect because what happened for me was instead of immediately, habitually, reflexively choosing option A, that choice of brushing my teeth caused me to pause for a second and think to myself, wait, dude, are you seriously about to not brush your teeth? There's no way you can talk yourself out of this. I mean, how on earth could you possibly justify not doing this? There's no way you're that weak. You can do this. Fucking do it. And I'd follow that thought up with, you're right. You're right, me. I'm not that weak. I will brush my teeth. I will do it. And then I do it. And that's incredible to me, not just because I did the thing that was healthy, but because the voice inside my head, that voice that was always fighting against me, now fought for me. This was the moment that I did the thing. And for no other reason than because I wanted to. And I think that's the seed of true discipline I'd been missing. And I'm not gonna sit here and pretend to know much about discipline. Hell, I'm talking about brushing my teeth once a day. But I think it has something to do with choosing to do what you believe to be in line with your aim. Choosing what you want rather than what you think you should want. Or even any one of the infinite possibilities of what others think you should want. God, and that's not even the best part. The coolest part was that after I played with level 0 for a while, I realized that level 0 was something I can't not do. Which is by my standards the defining characteristic of someone's passion, which means brushing my teeth is my passion. And that sounds insane to say out loud, but if you play with the idea for just a second, it'll begin to make sense. Because the way I see it is that the life I want does not exist if I don't lay each individual brick. The life filled with living out my passion, the life filled with playful self-expression does not exist if I don't brush my teeth. And so this act, this once seemingly inconsequential brick of brushing my teeth is now essential to who I want to be. It is, as Jordan Peterson puts it, supercharged with meaning.
So shines a good teeth.
So, you know the drill. Sit that sweet tush down and sketch up a life you'd actually like living. Distill your aim down to one stupid easy action and step into the arena.